Hello and welcome to Cookie Decorating with Z Cakery. If you purchase the pumpkin Halloween cookie decorating set, in your box you should have 5 icing pods, one of each color. You should have 3 candy corn, 3 Halloween buckets, 3 ghosts that also doubles as a tulip, and a pumpkin. You have an assortment of sprinkles, and I included these little, what do you call it, cupcake liners to hold your sprinkles. I just kind of dumped all of mine in one for the purposes of this video. You should also have 2 dowel rods to move the icing. I'll show you how we're going to use those later. An extra icing bag should yours break or you cut your hole too big, and an instruction booklet. With your icing pods, if your icing starts to separate, sort of kind of like my greenhouse because it's been sitting for a few days, go ahead and just massage your bag like so to get it mixed in. You may have to do that for a couple minutes. If you find that your red tag, this is something new that I tried. See, this one worked. This one kind of didn't. You can use a chip clip to like force your icing down and hold it, or have mom take it, or dad or grandma or whoever, auntie, uncle, whoever the adult, or if you can do it yourself, do it. And you can just tie it in a knot if you do not have a chip clip, okay? Otherwise, you'll need to keep that closed because the consistency of this icing is that of like, I would compare it to syrup. I plan to have some music in the background, but I didn't realize my phone will not play music while I am recording. So we're gonna just jump right into this, okay? So with your icing bags, I'm gonna move all my stuff over here out of view, but within reach, okay? I'm gonna leave this there. You should have your 4 cookies. I'm gonna start to finish show you how to decorate each one of these, okay? If you only have one set of icing, but multiple people, just kind of watch the video through to see where the second person is, because there's a way for everyone to start and finish and decorate these cookies. There's more than enough icing to go around. So you're going to take your bags and you're going to, you know, of course, mix your icing. You want to find the seam side up. Sorry, my hands are ashy. I've washed them a lot today. And you want to get that point. And I don't know if you can see that seam right there. You want to take your scissors. We're going to jump right in, guys. And you're going to snip the tip. I know that that sounds crazy, but look where I'm cutting. I'm barely cutting just the tip. I just want to have a small opening for my icing because I don't want it to pour. So I'm going to do that again. My black is already opened. I used it for a previous video. My white is not. So let's do this. So I'm going to move that icing up. You see my tip there? Let's see if you can see it there. And I'm just going to snip just barely the tip. You can always make your hole larger, guys. You can't make it smaller, okay? So remember that when you're cutting your bags. And you do have one extra, but you only have the one extra. So once more, we're just going to snip just the tip there. Just the tip. We want to just get a little bit of icing out, okay? So I'm going to start with the pumpkin, and I'm going to start with the pumpkin because I want you to do that pumpkin in sections so that it will look like a pumpkin, like with creases. But if you are going to do a jack-o'-lantern, I will actually bring out a second cookie and show you how to achieve that as well. But either way, we're going to move these guys over. I want to keep my sprinkles just close enough, and you have your dowel rods. Keep those nearby. You're also going to want to have a paper towel, just a simple paper towel. And you want to kind of dampen it just a little. You don't want it soaked. You want to just have something that you can wipe your rods off with, and you'll see why. So you're going to take your bag, guys, with your little bitty hole, and we're going to put in this center section first because we want to be able to see that seam. We want to start, I'm going to start at this seam. I'm going to start right there at that little hump. And you're just going to gently squeeze your bag because you want to make an outline. And just follow up to the, oops, Miss Z just had a boo-boo. Follow up to the top, and I was gonna say go around, but my icing seemed to have had a different idea. But, you know, you can just take your little rod and just kind of move that icing over. Or, you know what, Miss Z's gonna cheat. She's gonna just wipe that right off. And I'm gonna pick up where I left off on that circle because I didn't like the way it looked, and I'm just gonna do around, okay? And then I'm gonna take that same bag and I'm gonna squeeze just a little bit harder. You don't wanna squeeze so tight that you break your bag. I like to put my icing in the center. My fancy friends who are way better at this than me, they start off at the edge, but I want you to put yours kind of in the middle because a lot of you, this is your first time. Be generous with the icing, okay? You're gonna take your dowel rod or your boo-boo stick, as I call it, because I use it to clean up my boo-boos, in cookies, guys, not other, okay? And you're just gonna make little circles and move that icing around. And remember, I told you it's about the consistency of syrup, so the icing will go where you tell it to go. And there you go, okay? So that center is in. And as you can see, we left this empty and we left this part empty because this is where our green is gonna go. And I want that to show the creases, and you'll see how that comes to life in just a few. So we're gonna move my pumpkin over here where you can still see it in plain view in case you wanna just jump right in and start. This is your candy pail. And how I'm gonna decorate this one, I actually switched the look of this cookie because I didn't really love the other shape that I had used. So you're gonna just take that same orange, because you can make this your jack-o'-lantern, or you could really do it whatever color, but it was intended to be orange. But hey, this is your creation. You do what you please. Pretty much go to the edge and you're gonna stop right at that crease and come straight across. See how I got like a nice little purse bucket type situation going on there? And you're gonna take the same bag, I'm gonna do the same thing, and I'm gonna squeeze here in the middle. And the reason we're starting with these two, the pumpkin, remember, because I wanna see the creases. On this one, we wanna get this base layer on because we're going to use those sprinkles, guys, to make it look like a candy bucket. And we can't put real candy because real candy's too big. So I'm being, again, generous with my icing. You should have more than enough to cover 3 of each shape. And this is a little more peach than orange. I hope I darkened yours since I didn't do that to mine, but here we go. And see, I'm just taking that rod. I'm not scraping the cookie like this. You should not be doing that, okay? You should just be barely moving it on the top to move it around to the edge. If you're scraping your cookie, you don't have enough icing or you're doing it wrong. And you really just want to kind of use the tip. You don't want to lay it down to spread it. The icing is already a nice consistency. It should just, again, move where you tell it to move. You should not have to move it with force. So there we go. And this is where your wet paper towel comes in. I'm going to use it to wipe my rod off. And if you're got a little bump, you can kind of tap it a little or maybe shake it a little. And see how that just evened out real nicely there? Can't even see that I had a little bump. So I'm going to move him over because I need him to sit. I want him to crust just a few minutes. I would say maybe 10 to 15. If you're really impatient, guess what? I'll jump right in and show you what to do next. So this cookie cutter by Sugar Belle, The Sweet Adventures of Sugar Belle, is also a tulip. I love her cutters because they double as so many things. Like this candy corn can also be a Christmas tree. I actually believe that this was a snowman head and a hat. If it's not, that's what I see when I look at that. And I also see another flower if I turn this upside down, but that's not what we're doing. Let's stick to Halloween, guys. So I'm gonna take my white, I'm gonna go ahead and do my ghost. So when you do your ghost, remember, you cannot make the hole smaller, but you can always make it larger. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and outline my ghost. I made a really, oops, there I go again, messing up. I usually have flat sticks like this, and I usually scrape the side. But today I'm using my paper towel because these cookies, I made them a week ago. They're so stale. Actually, they're 2 weeks old. These are not last week's cookies. These are 2 weeks ago. They've just been sitting in a corner waiting for me to do this video. So it's okay if I beat them up a little. So you're going to start with a little point. See how I lift it there in my icing, and I'm just letting it flow. Follow the edge of your cookie. It's okay if you have a little cookie exposed because you can't, like, so if you're coming in like right here, I'll come in and show you. Just because you're afraid to go off the edge, that is fine. How many times have you been in Starbucks or anywhere else and you've seen the cookie not decorated all the way to the edge? I'm a bit of a cookie snob. I take pictures of those and I send them to my cookie friends and we laugh about it. So anyway, if you leave a little space like this, I'm gonna lift this up and show you where my icing is. That is okay. I would rather you come up a little bit than run off the edge and waste all of your good icing, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and fill in Mr. Ghost here. I'm gonna make my hole just a little bit bigger because I'm done. You don't wanna do that just yet because, well, if you make it too big, you can't make it smaller, remember? But if you're forcing the icing so much that your bag is bulging, you definitely want to make your hole just a smidgen bigger so that your icing flows out just like this, okay? Like I'm just squeezing. Can you see my hand? Just squeezing and letting my icing pour. And I'm going right next to the icing so that it fills the cookie. If you are a total bad mamma jamma or a, you know, then you can definitely squeeze closer to the edge. I am not a bad mamma jamma, so I'm gonna stay in the middle because Miss Z does not want to run over the edge. So be generous with your icing. Trust me, it'll make it a lot easier when you're moving it around. Be generous, be generous, be generous. And yes, this is pretty much how I decorate cookies when you guys are not watching, except I'm not moving so fast and they're a lot neater. I'm just going to use my stick and I'm going to move my icing around. Now, if you stayed in the middle, that's fine. You can always use your stick, as you can see, to move that icing if you want a little bit closer to the edge. Okay? Just be careful not to go over. This is a little bit thicker than I would have maybe liked it, but it's also perfect because it's not running off the sides like wax and water. And if you find that you're seeing lines, like if you can see that there, and you don't have enough icing, just, you know, kind of give it some more, you know, just give it a little bit more because you want that icing to move freely. You don't want to drag it. You should not, again, be doing that. Okay, you should not be scraping the cookie. You should just be gently moving that icing along the way. And so, well, now what do? My icing looks uneven. If you can lift it from the bottom, just lift it and hold it from the side and give it a little shake. If you're too nervous to do that, just kind of, you know, tap it, lift it, tap it, tap it, tap it, and see how that just kind of smoothed itself out. Now, this is a ghost, so he should have eyes. You have an assortment of eyes. You have big eyes, which I don't have in my little, I don't have that in my little toolkit. And you've got some little black beads that you can use. Your sprinkles may even have a ghost, but I don't think they'll show up on the white icing. So what I would like to do personally is I want my icing maybe to sit a little bit, but if you want to go ahead and drop those eyes right on, whether it be these or the little dots, you go right ahead. The difference is if you wait a little bit, the eyes will sit up a little bit on top of the cookie. If you drop them immediately, they will sink into it because of the weight of the, technically it's a sprinkle, because of the weight of the eye. And there you go, your ghost is pretty much done. I included the candy corn because I wanted the ghost to hold that candy corn. So I'm gonna go ahead and move Mr. Ghost over because I'm decorating on this side. And for the most part, he's done. Remember, these two are sitting because, uh-oh, I just hit the camera. Because I want those creases to show and because I wanna be able to add something else to this cookie. And I don't want those colors to bleed or blend. So my candy corn, I'm going to use this because you would be surprised at how many cookies I decorated that aren't in this order. So I'm going to take my yellow. This one I am okay with the colors bleeding into because if you look at your candy corn, most people hate these. They think they're pretty disgusting. I happen to like them. You'll see that the colors kind of bleed anyway, so that's not such a big deal. If you want creases, then you'll want to do your yellow and your white and wait a little bit and then come back in the middle and do your orange. But I'm going to do these colors right next to each other. Again, these are cookies. Someone's going to eat them. So you decorate them the way that you see fit because why? This is your creation. So I'm going to do the same thing, just kind of squeeze here. And I'm going to follow the edge of the cookie. And I'm going to come on around. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and flood that in. And I'm flooding, 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 flooding. I'm being generous with my icing because I want enough to cover. And again, you should have enough icing in your pods to fill 3 of these cookies. So if you're wondering why you don't have more, it's because you only have 3 that use yellow. So I've wiped off my dowel rod just because I don't want the orange to be in the middle of my cookie, right? And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to freely move that icing around. When I do the orange section, I'll show you how you can avoid using the dowel rod if you're not comfortable with it. But hey, it's my handicap, I'm going to be honest. And you can also make this section of the cookie as big as you'd like. But if you notice on the candy corn, the orange is the largest section. So I'm going to come right next to that yellow, and I'm going to start on the edge, and I'm going to go up. I don't even know how to count because I'm not smarter than a 5th grader. A bulk of the cookie just because. And it would be a 1/3 if that was divided evenly, but it's not. So one of my mathematicians out there, maybe my principal, can tell me how far up that is. She's going to be giving me a tutoring class in a minute. So same thing, I'm going to flood the cookie. But before I do that, I'm going to show you how to come right across here. You can just squeeze, go right against that yellow, not on top, but right against, you know, just squeeze. There you go. And then I'm going to flood the rest of this. And so if you don't want to use the dowel rod, you can just come right close to your edge, okay, and just fill it in. I typically go off the side of the cookie, so I tend not to do that. And yeah, I've been doing this a really long time, and I still go off the side of the cookie. And fill in those blanks, right? Because you don't want to drag your icing. Remember, you want to keep your cookie as level as possible. I need my stick because my icing isn't meeting. And so I'm just going to go up to that line, not over, but right up to the line. And as you can see, it's already blending there on the bottom. Wipe my stick off. And now I'm going to take my white, because again, I'm okay with these colors being right next to each other. And I want those next to each other, but I want it to have a more defined look on purpose. So I'm going to just start at the end of the orange and come right up the tip for the white. Same thing, following the shape of the cookie all the way around. And I'm going to squeeze the same way right up against the orange. I don't want to go on top. I just want to be right next to it. And now I'm going to flood this. And my candy corn, this guy, he's done. You have small eyes. You can give him eyes if you'd like. I don't know if I have them in my little, I don't know if I have them. You have a pair of small eyes. I know that you have small eyes in your sprinkle mix. And I will show you what that cookie looks like when we're finished. So because I don't have my small eyes, I'm going to just use these 2 little dots. You have an assortment of eyes in your little arsenal. So there you go. I'm going to just drop those 2 right there. They're not quite even. My little guy, poor guy. There you go. Just move it up a little. These should not bleed into the icing. That's specifically why I bought these, because to my knowledge, they do not bleed. I'm going to let that guy sit and let his eyes, you know, kind of get into focus, if you will. I'm going to move him up. I'm going to move this guy down because these are the next 2 I'm going to come back to. Let's do this one first because I have a reason for that. Let's move that over there. Oh, by the way, your ghost is going to hold a candy corn. You can drop it on there, but I know for certain that the color definitely bleeds. I know for a fact that it bleeds because I did it. Trust me, I did it. Because you're going to eat them, it's not the end of the world. I would like to let that cookie rest a little bit before I drop my candy corn. And I'll show you how to give him arms. So on this cookie, I don't need that. I want to give my candy bucket a strap. I am not going to come, I want my candy bucket full. So I'm going to start like right at this bend. I'm not going to go all the way down, but I'm going to just trace the cookie with my icing. As you can see, it's okay if you don't go all the way to the edge or over. The reason I am stopping here because this is where my candy is going. And I'm going to not make a line, but I am going to kind of come over just a little bit from there, and I'm going to come back around. If you can see what I'm doing here, I'm making a handle for my bucket. Now, if that's a little too complicated for you, that's okay. What you'll do is where you made that line, you'll just take your icing and kind of, you know, just squeeze. I made a well because I want to make sure that my icing doesn't just take off and my handle isn't any thicker than I need it to be. And as you can see, based on the way that I did that, I only need to use my stick to move it around just a little bit, like up here on the top, because I'm not going to worry about it not being all the way to the edge of the cookie, because it's okay, right? It's okay. Just move that a little bit. Your black is a little bit thicker, so again, black is unforgiving. Be careful. If you touch it here in the middle of your cookie, it will stain your cookie. There's no way to cover that. So we want this little guy to hang out just a little bit longer. Actually, no, let's go ahead and do this. Sorry, I got a little confused. We can go ahead and give him, if you like, let's give him a little face. If you wanted to have sections like this one, you'll ice it in sections, but I didn't do that on purpose. You have black. If you cut your hole small enough just to do that handle, you can do one of two things. You can make a jack-o'-lantern. If you want, you just kind of take your icing and make your triangle. And it doesn't have to be perfect, and you just squeeze and fill in the inside there, sort of like I'm doing now. And then you just fill it in, squeeze a little after you're done. See, there you go. I don't really know what his mouth is supposed to look like, so he's gonna look like the way I make him look, right? So I'm gonna go with the smiley face on the bottom because I want him to be a happy jack-o'-lantern. You can leave him like that, or you can, you know, make faces, whatever floats your boat. And then you just do the same thing. You squeeze and fill it in. You don't want to dig into the orange. You want to just kind of do it on the top. Okay. And there's my jack-o'-lantern. And what I'm going to do after this sits a little while, I'm going to fill this in with my white, and you'll see. You'll see why I call it the candy pail. And it's actually one of my most favorite Halloween cookies. And this one, we're going to go ahead and take our orange, and we're going to start from the base where that little indent is. And we're going to do the same thing. You're going to follow this around. Okay. I almost went over the edge. And I don't want that point, so I'm going to kind of like just put that down a little. Same thing we did with the orange. I'm going to come like next to it, not on top, but just kind of close to it. And you see how it creates a seam there? And you're going to go ahead and fill it in. Now this one is just a pumpkin because my pail is my jack-o'-lantern. If you would like to make this a jack-o'-lantern and just cover your whole cookie orange, you are more than welcome to. At the end of the day, this is your creation. This is just to give you an idea of what I thought about when I put this set together, okay? So you can give it polka dots, you can give it stripes, you can do whatever it is that you want. And can you see the definition? Can you see that line right here? That is why we wait just a little bit. And if you do that same thing with your candy corn, it will give you creases as well. But again, I wanted it to look a little more like candy corn. So I put it on, you know, immediately. So in this one, you're just going to come, you can start from the bottom or from the top. And here's the same thing, follow that cookie around and stop right there, okay? And I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna squeeze close to the edge, but not on top. And the reason I'm not going on top is because I wanna be able to see that line. And I almost did that perfectly. Almost didn't have to use my little stick. Don't forget to wipe it off. I can see mine's looking a little crusty over here. And I'm just going to help my icing move to the edge there just a little. Remember how I told you if it has black on it, you'll be able to see it. I just saw that. So the stick that you're using for the black, kind of reserve that for the black, because otherwise it will put a line in your icing. And I'm like slightly moving that over to just meet that other section. And as you can see there, I have my lines. I'm going to pick this up for you. And your pumpkin, sweetie, is almost done. You have the green. Did I cut that big enough? Did I cut it at all? I did. Oops, I did. So this section is kind of stopping at the edge, so I'm okay with coming across and doing my green. And I'm doing this to give, what do you call this? The little stump? Some color. And I'm just gonna go ahead and flood that in. I'm okay if this has lines that you can see because I wanted it to kind of look like a stump, so the icing should be a little bit thicker, but it's okay if it's smooth. And I don't want to do my swirly veins just yet because this side is really wet and the icing will do what? It will do this. It'll just blend and bleed, and I don't want that to happen. So I want this guy to sit just a little bit longer, and I'm going to come over here to my ghost. I'm going to give him, I don't know, maybe some arms. Want to give him a smile? I think I gave him a smile on the other set. So this guy, I'm going to show you how to do two things. If your cookie, if you let it sit for a while, it will crust. The harder it gets, in my opinion, the better for the candy corn. So you want it to sit for a little while because you don't want your candy corn to sink. If it's crusted, you'll just take a little bit of white and you'll put it on your candy corn, or you can put it on the cookie. See how I did that there? And it works, your icing works as a glue. I probably should have did pumpkins, but I like candy corn. And you can kind of see how my candy corn is sitting on top, but it's starting to sink just a little. I want it to sit on top. So that's why I want the cookie to crust for, 10 to 15 minutes, but clearly I'm doing this in real time. It's not going to sit that long. You can do your arms to hold this in one of two ways. So I'm going to do two things on one cookie because in the essence of time. I'm going to take my black and I'm just going to give this little guy an arm right here. I'm going to barely touch my white, barely touching my white, and I'm going to come over to my candy corn. Okay, see how I did that? And he's just going to have like stick fingers because it's a cookie. There, and he's going to have three, like a little broom. I think that's cute. I cracked myself up. Oh, see, he's got a little hand holding his candy corn. Actually, I have to do this live because you need to see it. Oh, I like that. So if you wanted him to have a white hand, you could then just, same thing. You're going to start from your candy corn, just a little bit, squeeze with your flood consistency, and just give that guy an arm. Just come out, give a little circle, and come back to the candy corn, and just flood it in, okay? And if you let it crust long enough and you squeeze enough, you'll kind of see, you'll see how that icing is sitting up there. So this is why you want it to crust. Now, because I feel like giving him some little fingers, I'm going to take my little dowel, I'm going to clean it off. See how I'm just wiping it off? It's just wood. And I'm going to just kind of drag that icing just a little bit. See how I'm just giving them a few little fingers? But not too hard because I don't want to break my cookie, right? And I don't want to push it into the icing. And see how I did that? Hope my finger wasn't in the way. I just gave him three little... I gave him three little fingers. So that's my ghost. So if you want him to hold a candy corn, you can do that either way. And we can give this little guy some eyebrows if you want. Why not? It's a cookie. I like that. I don't think he needs a nose. So that's my ghost. And now my ghost, start to finish, is done. Okay? And I'm going to come back to my candy corn because I'm not quite ready to do my leaves on that guy yet. And this guy still isn't dry. And I'm just going to give him a smile. He looks like he could use a smile, Everybody needs a smile. I'm going to give him just a little smile. I'm just going to squeeze a little and lift and let my icing fall and follow my hand. Oh, look at how happy he looks. He's happy. He's alive. And start to finish, in just a matter of minutes, I've decorated my candy corn. See? So, well, what about my pumpkin, Miss Z? And is my basket, dry enough? Probably not. You should probably let that sit a little while. But I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. And I didn't think to prepare a cookie before the video. So let's see what I do. Let's see what I come with. You can make your strap longer, by the way. I just thought about that. If you want to make your strap longer, you can. So I'm just going to take this icing and I'm going to come full time in here. And it's okay if you go a little bit over your orange because this is your candy bucket, remember? But I'm going to stay there. And I'm going to take my sprinkles. If you want to use your sprinkle cup, I want to take these big chunks out. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with those ghosts in just a second. Not sure why I blended this all together and then got this bright idea in my head. Anyway, so I'm going to just take this, and it can have the eyeballs, but I definitely don't want the candy corn. It's okay, right? It's Halloween. It can be a little creepy. And I'm just going to take my candy corn, my little wrapper paper, and I'm just going to try to pour that right here on my white icing. Uh-oh, my ghosts are falling off. I really actually wanted the ghost somewhere else, but there we go. And there, I didn't mean for that guy to, I'm going to leave it, because if I try to take it off, I'm going to dent my icing. And start to finish, there's your candy pail, except that green shouldn't be there. So let yours crust so that you can just wipe that green right off, okay? And because it's bothering me and I have my tools with me, I'm going to take that green off because it is really bothering me. Okay. But there we go. Oh, and then there I go. I should have left it. Start to finish, your candy pail. I think he's cute. I think he's cute. And now I've made like a complete mess of my workstation, but that's okay. Welcome to live TV, guys. So I'm going to take my green and I am going to make some little vines, I'm just going to start there at the green. Start there at the green, and I'm going to just squeeze and lift. Now you can, that wasn't supposed to drop. I'm going to squeeze and I'm going to make some little loops. You can do one, you can do two, you can do none. It's entirely up to you. I kind of like the little loops. And then I'm going to take that same bag once I am done using all of my green. Only when you're done using all of your green, you take that same bag. I'm going to try to get a leaf. You're going to cut it like at a little angle from the seam. I'll show you in just a second if you can't see that. I think I'm doing this right. I usually use a leaf tip, but you don't have one. So I flatten that and I've cut it kind of at an angle. And then you're going to take that and then you're just going to start right there. Oh, see how it butterflied? That's what I wanted to do. How it ruffled, rather, not butterflied. And I'm going to come this way. I hope my hand is not in the way. And I want to do that. And there I have a leaf. And your pumpkin, start to finish, is done. And there you have it, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Let's move all that crap over. Your completed pumpkin Halloween cookie set. Thank you for joining me in my first video. I will do better as time goes on. Have a good evening and happy Halloween to you.